I was fixing a leaky sink when I heard my wife laugh from the next room and say, "He'll never figure it out. He's too dumb." That's when something inside me snapped, but not the way you'd think. And it ended with her blowing out birthday candles as a courier handed her our divorce papers. You'll want to see her face when she realized what I'd done. He'll never figure it out. He's too dumb to even suspect anything. I was halfway under the kitchen sink when I heard it. At first, I thought I'd imagined it. Maybe the words floated in from the open window, or came from the TV. But then came her laugh, that smug, drawn-out laugh that meant she wasn't joking. My hand froze around the wrench. Water was still dripping from the valve I'd been tightening, but my ears drowned everything out except her voice. I could sleep with half the county and he'd still ask if I need help with the groceries. Silence from the other end of the call. Then another giggle. Hers, not mine. I didn't move. Didn't make a sound. Didn't even breathe too loudly. The kitchen floor felt suddenly cold against my knees. My fingers curled around the wrench so tightly that later I'd find the imprint on my palm. I should have stormed in, thrown open the door, screamed, flipped the table, whatever dramatic move men make when they catch their wife betraying them, but I didn't. Instead, something colder than rage settled into me, like steel threading into bone. I stayed crouched under the sink until I heard her walking upstairs, still laughing softly. Then I stood up, wiped my hands, and turned off the flashlight. My pulse was steady. My face was blank. My plan had just begun. That night, I didn't say a word. Not when she asked about dinner. Not when she leaned in to kiss my cheek. I let her. I smiled. I asked how her day was, and she told me some lie about yoga and errands. She even wore the necklace I gave her last year, silver with a small diamond, our anniversary gift. She wore it like a trophy. I watched it glint as she stirred her tea, like it was mocking me. At 3 a.m., I got up and went to the office. Pulled out the old laptop she'd forgotten still synced to her cloud account. It took 5 minutes to crack the password. Her mother's birthday. Classic. There they were. Photos, messages, dates. A hidden album titled, Just Me. Just him and her. Over the next 2 weeks, I installed software, checked our joint accounts, traced credit card expenses, spa weekends that weren't mine, hotel bookings I never knew about, payments to a name I didn't recognize. Turned out it was his. I copied everything. Backed it up 3 times. Sent a copy to my work email labeled tax stuff. Another to a USB drive I kept on my keychain. In flashbacks, our happy life flickered like a dying light bulb. Sunday pancakes. Her laugh at my stupid jokes. The night we stayed up until 3 a.m. watching thunderstorms from the porch. Lies. All of it. Rewritten now. Seen through this new lens. I kept playing the line over in my head. He'll never figure it out. That wasn't just betrayal. That was contempt. That was someone who didn't fear being caught because she didn't respect the man she'd married. 2 days before her birthday, I blocked our joint bank card. She called me at work. "Babe, I think there's a problem with the card." I said, "Yeah, I noticed something weird. Probably fraud. I'll check it out." Then I changed all the passwords. Froze the line of credit. Replaced my will. Contacted a courier service. On her birthday, she wore a red dress and heels. Invited friends. Laughed too loud. Played the perfect wife to a room of people who didn't know the truth. I watched her from the kitchen doorway. She stood by the cake. All smiles and sparkle. The diamond necklace still resting against her throat. Everyone counted down. 3, 2, 1, make a wish. She closed her eyes. Blew out the candles. Then the doorbell rang. She frowned. "Who?" I stepped aside to let the courier in. He handed her the envelope. Cream-colored, sealed with a golden clasp. She opened it right there, between the cake and the candles. Read the first page. Her expression broke before she even flipped to the second. I didn't say a word. Just took my coat from the hanger and walked out. The silence behind me was the sweetest thing I'd heard in years. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry. That would have been easier. Anger burns fast and loud, but what I felt was colder, like the air right before a snowstorm. Still, silent, and suffocating. She lay beside me, breathing slow, one leg draped over mine like nothing had changed, like she hadn't just gutted me with a giggle. The next morning I kissed her goodbye, went to work, and spent my lunch break opening a private bank account, transferred my paycheck to it, called the bank, froze our joint credit card, cited unusual activity. They didn't ask questions. That night she complained the card declined when she tried to buy wine. Probably fraud, I said, checking my phone. I'll call tomorrow. She smiled, kissed my forehead, and thanked me for being such a rock. I stared at her for a second too long. She didn't notice. The next few days were all logistics. New passwords, hidden cameras, GPS tracker on her car. A friend at IT at work helped me recover deleted texts from her phone when she left it charging in the living room. The conversations were worse than I expected. Graphic. Smug. She and the guy even joked about me by name. "Poor Dave," one message read. "He probably thinks I moan like that for him." I read it twice. Then I saved it to a folder called Closure. In the evenings, I played the role. We watched movies, had dinner, laughed. She asked me if I was losing weight. I looked less tired lately. I told her I felt lighter. Funny how easy it was to lie once the truth was poisoned. I'd already spoken with a divorce attorney, paid the retainer in cash, explained I wanted to file without her knowing, serve her when it would sting the most. The attorney didn't blink. He'd seen worse. The tricky part was the timing. Her birthday was in 2 weeks. She'd already planned a little get-together. Friends, family, cake, candles. I figured if she could laugh about me behind my back, she could cry in front of everyone when the mask slipped. In the meantime, I kept stacking the bricks of my case. Bank statements, location logs, call records. I even printed out the hotel receipts, each one circled in red ink like some obsessive detective from a crime doc. Maybe I was becoming one. The flashbacks came at night. She crying in the rain when her dad died, me holding her in the driveway, us driving to the Grand Canyon with nothing but gas station snacks and dreams, me proposing with a ring I couldn't afford, just wanting to see her happy. Now I couldn't even picture that version of her without hearing her voice say, "He'll never figure it out." I stopped reminiscing. That guy, the one in the memories, he was gone. What was left was someone new, someone who'd been stabbed, but chose to walk away while the blade was still warm in his back. 2 days before the party, I emailed her lover's wife. Attached everything. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. The morning of the party, I picked up the courier envelope. Crisp, weighty. My name at the top, hers below it. The beginning of the end. She greeted guests in a white dress like it was her wedding day, all perfect teeth and carefully curled hair. People toasted to her, complimented her, hugged her. I watched, calm. Then came the cake, the candles, the countdown. "Make a wish," someone said. She smiled, closed her eyes. I nodded to the courier at the door. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." The fallout started before the first slice of cake hit the plate. She stood frozen with the envelope still in her hand, guests murmuring, trying to pretend they weren't watching her world collapse in real time. I saw her lips move, silent at first, then a breathless, "What the hell is this?" that cut through the room like a blade. I didn't answer, just walked past her, nodded to a few stunned guests, and let the door swing shut behind me. I didn't drive home. I drove to a motel off the interstate, one of those generic, slightly too clean ones with beige walls and a lobby that smells like microwaved eggs. I needed space, silence, time to think. Back at the house, she called me 16 times in an hour. Then it stopped. I stared at the TV without hearing it. Eventually, I muted it altogether and just listened to the buzzing in my head. The next morning, I opened my email. Her lover's wife had responded. One line. "I always wondered. Thank you." No threats, no tears. Just that. I sat with that message for a long time. Later that day, I checked our home security footage. She'd been pacing for hours, phone glued to her hand, crying, shouting at no one. At one point, she grabbed the framed wedding photo off the mantel and hurled it into the wall. Glass shattered. Poetic. I watched it all from my motel bed, sipping burnt coffee and wondering if I felt anything. Turns out I didn't. Monday came. I met with the attorney again. He had everything filed, confirmed she'd been officially served. We discussed assets. The house would go to me. I'd paid the down payment, the mortgage, every repair bill. The account balances were frozen. My new account was safe. I left nothing to chance. By Wednesday, she texted again. "We need to talk, please." I didn't reply. Thursday. "You're blowing up our life. Why would you do this like that?" I deleted it. Friday. "I'll tell everyone what you've done. You're not as smart as you think." I blocked her number. She tried email next. Then her sister called me. Then her best friend. I didn't answer a single one. Because what could they say that would matter now? What could they possibly defend? I spent the weekend packing her things into boxes. Labeled them by room, even folded her sweaters. Because cruelty isn't always rage. Sometimes it's precision. The guest room filled with neat brown boxes. I left them stacked like monuments to her destruction. Every shirt, every perfume bottle, every book she ever swore she'd read but never touched. I changed the locks Sunday night. By Monday morning, I was gone again. Not because I had to be. Because I wanted her to sit with it. Alone. Surrounded by all her things. And none of her power. The first time she showed up after the party, she didn't knock. She still had her key. Forgot I'd changed the locks. The sound of it jamming, scraping uselessly in the door was satisfying. I watched her through the peephole. She jiggled the handle harder, then paused, confused. She stepped back, tried to compose herself, then rang the bell like she hadn't just been trying to force her way in. I didn't answer. She rang again. Then came the voice. Sweet at first. "Dave, can we please talk?" No response. "I didn't mean for any of this. Can you at least give me a chance to explain?" Still nothing. A pause. Then the switch flipped. "You're being ridiculous. You can't just lock me out of my own house." I smiled. My house. Finally, the truth. After a few more rings and some frustrated muttering, she left. I watched her walk to her car, yank the door open, slam it shut harder than necessary, and drive off. I waited 15 minutes, then went to the garage and removed the keypad access from her code. That night, I got an email with the subject line, "You're being cruel." The body was a mess of half apologies and veiled accusations. "You blindsided me," she wrote. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. We could have handled this privately. Do you know what people are saying?" I read it twice, then archived it. Because, yes, I do know what people are saying. A few mutuals already reached out, not to defend her, to say they'd heard rumors, but never imagined she'd laugh about it. That's what stuck with them. Not the affair, not the betrayal, the laughter. "He'll never figure it out." That line haunted them too. 2 days later, I got a text from her mom. We hadn't spoken in years. She asked if I could find it in my heart to talk to her. I ignored it. Same with her brother, her old roommate. Even her boss emailed me, her boss, saying she'd taken a few days off work and was really not herself. Good. Let her sit in the quiet. I wasn't trying to ruin her life. I was just finally refusing to let her ruin mine. Meanwhile, the plan kept moving. I'd already met with a realtor. House appraisal was next week. Once it was valued, I'd decide. Sell or buy her out. The attorney advised I start with an offer. One chance. If she refused, we'd force sale. Legally sound, financially brutal. I opened a new spreadsheet titled Asset Split. Each line item had its own tab. Each tab had a time-stamped photo. I was building a fortress. She, meanwhile, was unraveling. On Thursday, I passed by her gym and saw her car. I parked across the street and waited. I don't know why. Morbid curiosity, maybe. She came out 40 minutes later looking like hell. No makeup, puffy eyes, talking on the phone with that frantic hand motion she used when trying to control a conversation she was losing. She looked small, tired. I didn't feel pity. I felt nothing. Just like I had under that sink, when the rot first revealed itself. This wasn't revenge. This was reclamation. By the next week, her tone had shifted. No more anger. No more threats. Just desperation masquerading as grace. She left a handwritten note in the mailbox, because she couldn't get through any other way. Pale blue paper, neat cursive, the kind she used for holiday cards. She even spritzed it with perfume, like I'd forgotten what manipulation smelled like. It read, I made a mistake, a terrible one, but it didn't have to end like this. I miss our life. I miss you. I stared at the word you for a long time, folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, slid it into the trash. That day, I met with the appraiser. I didn't mention the drama, kept it clean, professional. He walked the house, complimented the kitchen I'd remodeled myself, the hardwood floors I'd spent 2 weekends sanding by hand. Funny, how everything I did to build that home was mine. Everything she took credit for, coordinating colors, choosing pillows, was surface-level fluff. When he left, I opened the drawer in the study. Inside, a manila folder. Inside the folder, receipts, photos, copies of her messages, and the notarized statement from her lover's wife. Every piece in place. The lawyer called that night. Said she'd responded to the divorce filing. Finally, her lawyer wanted to negotiate. I told him, one condition, she gets nothing beyond what's legal. No favors, no goodwill, no leniency. He agreed. She had chosen this war when she laughed at the man who loved her. Now she could lie in the rubble. 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. You think this makes you strong? You look pathetic, cold, empty. I didn't reply, just added it to the folder. The next day, I found out she'd told her friends I'd lost it, that I was punishing her because I was insecure and unstable. She spun a story where she was the victim of my cold detachment, my obsessive jealousy, and how she only cheated because she felt neglected. She really thought people would buy it. Some did, most didn't. And even those who did, they started pulling away once I calmly emailed them a PDF titled, A Brief Timeline. Just the facts, dates, screenshots, hotel bills, no commentary, no insults, just reality. One of them replied, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Exactly. They didn't know. Because she built her lies like a stage set. Just enough polish from the front, nothing behind it. She called again that weekend. Left a voicemail. She was crying, not sobbing. This was the practiced cry, the kind with pauses, as if she knew she was being recorded. You didn't even give me a chance to fix it. You just shut down. That's not fair. We were happy once, weren't we? Were we? Or was I just too blind, too trusting, too exhausted to see the cracks? Happiness doesn't sound like, he'll never figure it out. That line still echoed in my mind every morning, like a bell tolling at the top of every new day. A reminder. I was no longer the man in the dark. Now she was. And I wasn't coming to pull her out. She showed up again, this time with makeup perfectly done and hair curled just right, like war paint for a woman who thinks beauty is still currency after the truth's been cashed in. I watched her from the upstairs window. She stood at the door holding one of those faux leather planners she used to carry when she wanted to look important. She knocked, waited, knocked again, then said loud enough for the neighbors to hear, I just want to talk, Dave. I deserve that much, don't I? Deserve? I almost laughed. But I didn't give her the satisfaction of an answer. I let the silence answer for me. Eventually she left, slowly, like she wanted to make sure I saw her leave, like she thought maybe guilt would follow her. It didn't. That night, her sister called, left a voicemail full of diplomatic concern. Hey, I know things are tense right now, but maybe you could sit down with her? Closure helps people heal. She's not doing well. Just consider it closure, as if I owed her emotional CPR after she buried our marriage alive. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on the final steps of the plan. The settlement hearing was a week away. My lawyer had already drafted everything. She'd get her personal items, her car, bought with my bonus check last year, and nothing more. No spousal support, no share of the house, no hidden accounts to dip into. I'd seen to that months ago. She hadn't responded to the proposal yet, probably because her lawyer had told her the truth. She had no leverage, nothing to bargain with. I'd already rerouted every financial artery the second I knew the heart was gone. I wasn't just planning for escape. I was designing containment. She could flail, beg, scream, none of it would change the math. That weekend, I got a message from an unknown number, a video clip. It was her, in tears, sitting on our bed, my bed now, saying, I messed up. I was stupid. I thought it was harmless. I never meant for it to go this far. Please. I don't want to lose everything. I watched it once, then deleted it. Because here's the part people don't get about betrayal. It's not just the cheating. It's the insult of underestimation. She didn't just step out of our marriage. She stepped on me on the way out, thinking I was too passive, too slow, too dumb to notice. That's what I couldn't forgive. The cheating? That's textbook. But the mockery? The smug certainty that I was beneath suspicion? That was personal. You spend years building a life with someone, thinking every compromise is for the greater good. Every moment of patience, every late-night ride to pick them up after a fight with a friend or a family meltdown, that it all stacks up into something unshakable. Turns out, it just makes you the perfect mark. She thought she'd mapped out the borders of my mind, that she knew every weak spot, that I was domesticated, predictable, too loyal to ever push back. She was wrong, and the man she thought she'd outsmarted, he didn't just catch up. He passed her, smiled, and shut the damn door behind him. The day of the settlement hearing, it rained. Of course it did. Not the romantic kind of rain you see in movies. The cold, grimy drizzle that soaks your collar and turns parking lots into oil-slicked puddles. I showed up early, dressed sharp, neutral colors, clean shave, no emotion. The courthouse was quiet, just a few people milling around the lobby. I sat by the window and waited. She arrived 9 minutes late. I didn't stand, just watched. She looked different, not in a tragic way. She still tried. Pencil skirt, heels, trench coat draped over her arm like she wanted everyone to know she was holding herself together. But she wasn't. The moment she saw me, she hesitated, like the ground tilted just slightly beneath her. She walked over and sat 2 chairs down, not next to me, not far enough to pretend we were strangers, a deliberate distance, like maybe we were still something. We weren't. Her lawyer arrived, mine too. We went in. The hearing was uneventful, quiet, sterile. My lawyer spoke clearly, laid out the terms. Her lawyer didn't argue, just cleared his throat a few times, asked for a few clarifications, and sat back like a man who knew his client had no leg to stand on. When the judge asked if we both agreed to the settlement, I said yes without a pause. She hesitated again, then nodded. The judge signed. That was it. 13 years together, reduced to 3 signatures and a silent exit. Outside, she followed me to the parking lot. The rain hadn't stopped. "Dave," she said soft, "can we just talk? Without lawyers?" I didn't stop walking. She tried again. "I can't believe you're really doing this. Like I'm some stranger." I turned to her. "You're not a stranger," I said. "Strangers don't look me in the eye and laugh about how easy I am to fool." Her face cracked for a second. Just a second. Then she tried to hold it. "I didn't mean it," she whispered. "Yes," I said. "You did, and that's the problem." She stood there in the rain, waiting for something. A plea, a moment of weakness, maybe some proof I still cared. But I didn't. Not anymore. I got in my car, turned the key, and pulled out without another word. Halfway home, I passed a roadside florist. Red and yellow tulips, cheap vases, sympathy arrangements under a sagging white tent. I stopped, bought a bouquet. Not for her, for myself. For the version of me that finally died today, the one who thought love meant sacrifice, even when you're the only one doing the sacrificing. I brought the flowers home, put them in the center of the kitchen table. Then I sat down in the quiet and took the deepest breath I'd had in years. It's strange, the things that haunt you. Not the big betrayals, the cheating, the lies. Those burn hot, then turn to ash. It's the little things that linger, like the way she used to hum while making coffee. The way her shoes always ended up by the door, no matter how many times I asked her to put them away. The scent of her shampoo in the upstairs hallway, long after she was gone. Ghosts with good lighting. I'd been living alone for 3 weeks when I got the letter. Not a text, not an email. A real letter, handwritten, cream-colored paper, like the ones she used to hoard for thank you notes she never actually sent. No return address, just my name, in ink that trembled a little at the edges. I didn't open it at first. I left it on the counter for 2 days, just sitting there like a coiled snake. When I finally read it, it was exactly what I expected. A long apology, wrapped in nostalgia, no ownership, just regret, dressed in poetry. She wrote about our first date, the diner with the broken jukebox, how she pretended to like my favorite band to impress me. She wrote about our dog, Max, who we lost 3 years ago, and how she still dreamed about him sometimes. She wrote about how she never stopped loving me and just got lost. But she never once said she was sorry for mocking me. Not for the line that started all of this. Not for the contempt. Not for making me feel like a punchline in my own life. I folded the letter and slid it back into the envelope. Then I burned it in the kitchen sink. It felt cleaner than shredding, more final than trash. I watched the edges curl black, the ink bubble and fade. I thought maybe I'd feel something watching it go. Anger, closure, even peace. But there was just smoke, empty. That weekend I got a text from her lover's wife. Short. I left him. Nothing else. No follow-up, no explanation. She didn't need one. I replied, "Good." We never spoke again. That same night, I went through our old photo albums. I didn't cry. I just flipped page after page, seeing now what I should have seen years ago. The forced smiles. The way I was always the one leaning in. The quiet resentment in her eyes when she didn't know the camera was watching. Eventually, I closed the book, stuck it in a box with the rest of her things. The last box. I taped it shut, labeled it, and drove it to her sister's place the next morning. No warning, no note. Just rang the bell, left it on the porch, and drove away before anyone answered. I didn't need a thank you. I needed it gone. Some people think revenge is loud, screaming, smashing, burning everything down. But the real stuff? It's quiet. It's sitting in a chair, watching the person who tried to destroy you slowly realize they never even scratched you. It's getting your peace back and not inviting them to see it. That Monday, I started the process of putting the house on the market. The place was too big now. Every room echoed. Every creak in the floorboard felt like a ghost stretching its legs. I didn't want to live inside a memory. The realtor was sharp, efficient, asked why I was selling so soon after a divorce. I told her, I'm not downsizing. I'm discarding. She nodded, didn't ask again. Packing the last of my things, I found an old box I'd forgotten about. Stuff from our wedding. Cards, receipts, a dried-out boutonniere. Her vows scribbled on a napkin because she hadn't written them until the morning of. I read them once, for curiosity. Phrases like, you always see the best in me, and I never want to stop choosing you. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I dropped them straight into the garbage, took out the trash, and didn't look back. That evening, I sat on the back porch sipping a drink, watching the sky melt into soft orange. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, I listened to it. Her voice. Broken. Flat. All the charm stripped away. I saw the listing. I guess it's really over now. I just wanted you to know. I lost everything. Him. My job. Most of my friends. My parents barely talk to me. I thought you'd care. I thought maybe, deep down, you'd still care. She paused. Then added, you were the only thing in my life that ever really felt safe. I saved the voicemail. Not out of nostalgia. Not because I needed to hear it again, but because sometimes survival deserves its own trophy. And hearing her say, I lost everything after thinking I'd never find out, that's what justice sounds like. The next morning, I didn't think about her. I thought about the future, about smaller spaces, warmer mornings, quiet routines where everything in the house belonged to me, not just the things, but the peace. And for the first time in years, I looked in the mirror and saw a man who didn't flinch at his own reflection. I moved out on a Sunday. No ceremony, no dramatic goodbyes. Just me, a moving van, and a cup of gas station coffee that tasted like ash, but felt like freedom. The new place was smaller, a one-bedroom on the edge of town, wood floors, white walls, no history. That was the point. Nothing in the corners waiting to whisper at night. The first night, I slept without dreaming. The second night, I walked to the little diner down the block, ordered eggs and toast, sat by the window, watched strangers pass by with dogs and kids and coffee cups, all of them wrapped in their own little worlds. It was beautiful. The simplicity, the indifference. No one knew me here. No one pitied me. No one expected me to play the fool with a smile. And that was peace. A few days later, I got an email from her. Final one. Subject. Closure. No attachments. Just 4 lines. I understand now. You didn't leave me. You just finally saw me. And once you did, there was nothing left to stay for. She was right. There was nothing. I didn't reply. I archived it. Not out of spite. Out of finality. I haven't heard from her since. I don't think I ever will again. I started therapy. Not because I was broken. Because I was finally ready to ask why I stayed as long as I did. Why I ignored the signs. Why I chose to believe love had to hurt to be real. Turns out it doesn't. Love is quiet. Steady. Safe. Betrayal is loud. Bright. Dressed up like fireworks so you won't notice the fuse burning down. The man who walked out of that marriage wasn't the same man who walked into it. The one who walked out, he's sharper now. Softer too, in ways that matter. He knows where his boundaries are, and he guards them like a kingdom. He knows that silence can be strength, that kindness doesn't mean surrender, that walking away isn't weakness. It's wisdom wrapped in courage. And most of all, he knows how to spot a lie before it's dressed in lipstick and promises. The story's over, not because I ran out of pain to describe, but because I ran out of reasons to carry it. Let her keep her laughter. I've got my life back, and that's the real ending.